Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that kind. Thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's better than the one I got at the Scottsdale Rotary the other day, where the guy said, "Here's the latest dope from Washington, Senator John McCain." So I thank you, all of you, for being here. The weather. Some of you may complain about the rain. We never complain in Arizona about the rain. In fact, my beloved predecessor in the United States Senate, Barry Goldwater, used to say we have so little water in Arizona that the trees chase the dogs. I wouldn't say that, but and I'm glad you're here visiting your money. It's hard trying to do the Lord's work in the city of Satan, as you can tell, and we're happy to see you all here who are closest to the people. I want to run through just a few issues with you, and then maybe if you would like a couple of questions or comments or insults. And by the way, thanks for mentioning I ran for president and lost. Thanks a lot. I've often said after I lost, I slept like a baby. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry. So, and finally, if I could, I'd like to ask your sympathy for the families of the state of Arizona, because Barry Goldwater from Arizona ran for President of the United States, and Morris Udall, a congressman from Arizona, ran for President of the United States. Bruce Babbitt, our former governor from Arizona, ran for President of the United States. I, from Arizona, ran for President of the United States. Arizona may be the only state in America where mothers don't tell their children that someday they can grow up and be president of the United States. So I thank you. I'd like to put in a plug for my dear friend Liz Archuleta of Coconino County, Arizona. She's a great friend and a great leader in Arizona, and I hope you'll stuff the ballot box in her behalf. So there's, as we say in Chicago, vote early and vote often. In fact, once, in Chicago, I'm told that they honor the dead so much they let them vote. I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know if you ever heard the story of the two inmates in the chow line in the state prison, and one of them said to the other, "The food was a lot better in here when you were governor." But anyway, I don't think you can tell that joke in Illinois, but so I thank all of you. I'd like to run through a couple of issues with you that are important to Arizona and the nation. PILT and secure rural schools programs. We want to work and get reauthorized. We've got to treat our rural communities and our states that have large ownership of our land, people to be properly compensated. I would feel strongly that on our issue of securing our borders, there's a program that called SCAP. Many of you are familiar with it, State Criminal Alien Assistance Program. We've got to reimburse counties and states for the costs that are incurred while holding criminal aliens in non-federal prisons. I want to talk to you a minute about our veterans, if I could. I think you are all aware, I know you are all aware, that a scandal started in Arizona and spread across the nation when, in the case of the Phoenix VA, 50 veterans died while waiting on a waiting list that didn't exist, and that scandal has spread throughout the VA system. And it's hard turning this giant bureaucracy around. I'm proud of Republicans and Democrats working together on this challenge that we all have. We have no greater priority than to care for those who have served and sacrificed in our nation's behalf. I negotiated with Senator Bernie Sanders after the scandal in Phoenix began, and negotiating with Bernie Sanders is an interesting and exciting experience. I can assure you my reward will be in heaven, not here on earth. I would also like to point out he is an honest man, and I appreciated the ability for us to work together. There were many things, aspects of that legislation in an attempt to reform the VA. I think one of the most important items, my friends, is a thing called a choice card. Now, right now, the rule is that if you live more than 40 miles or if you wait a certain period of time, then you can have a choice card and go out and get the care you need from any provider that you want to go to. My friends, I believe that it is vital that we make that choice card universal without any restrictions. The VA, there are men and women, as you all know, who work for the VA who are wonderful and dedicated. But we also know that there's big problems in the VA. I'll tell you an example. In Colorado, our friends from Colorado here will tell you, they now are building a hospital in Denver that has a $1.7 billion cost overrun. That's not acceptable. We all agree with that. So this choice card, in my view, the VA provides the best care possible on traumatic brain injury, PTSD, prostheses, other areas that are specific to veterans. But if a veteran wants to go to a healthcare provider of his or her choice, let's let them do that. I think we need to make this choice card universal so that they can have that ability. I want to talk to you about particularly those of us in the Southwest, but all over this country, and that is fire and water. On the issue of water, as you know, we are in a many years drought. You know that there's problems from as far away as Flint, Michigan, to many other places in the nation, but particularly the Southwest and the West. Fire and water are the issues of the 21st century. In my home state of Arizona, 20% of our national forests have been burned in the last 10 years. You can do the math. We need forest thinning, and we also need to enact ways to save water, to better make use of it, and there are going to have to be some very tough choices that are going to have to be made. And we've got to improve our ability to fight fires. We have got to provide with our states, particularly the ability to conserve water, and also we have a thing that goes all the way down the Colorado River, and in California, there's a thing called salt cedar, which eats all kinds of water all the time, and we have to address it. But my friends, we have to understand that our children, if we want our children and grandchildren in the Southwest and in the West to enjoy the same lives we did, we're going to have to address this water issue. There are estimates that the Colorado River will not be 20 years from now what it is today. And I don't want to dwell on it, but it is a great, great challenge that we have. Now I want to talk to you just for a minute about what's going on in the world, because all of you represent so many of our men and women who are serving in the military. Week before last, we had a hearing before the Armed Services Committee. And the Director of National Intelligence, who is highly respected, General Clapper, by everybody, Republican and Democrat alike. And by the way, I'm happy to tell you, on the Armed Services Committee, we work on a bipartisan basis. Jack Reed is the ranking Democrat, and we work closely together. He is very poorly educated because he went to West Point. But other than that, we do a great job together. And I'm proud of what we've done in last year in reforming the military, reforming the retirement, entirely changing retirement so that men and women who serve in the military, now 85% of them, can receive some financial benefit. But what I want to talk to you about just briefly is that General Clapper said that we have not faced more crises and more challenges since the end of World War II. He and others have said that there will be attacks on the United States of America. And they say that because this disease called ISIS and radical Islam is metastasizing throughout the world. For the first time in history, a terrorist organization has a geographic base, as ISIS does in Raqqa. Okay, I'm sure you saw it this morning that they're now in Libya, and we had to bomb one of their bases in Libya. So this is a challenge, and it's an asymmetric challenge as well. The estimates are the attack in San Bernardino probably cost about $10,000. You can imagine what it cost us. So we're going to have to come up with a strategy to defeat ISIS, which we don't have right now. We're going to have to increase our awareness. We're going to have to increase our cooperation between federal, state, and local authorities. And I'm not telling you that we hit the panic button. Don't get me wrong. But I am saying there are threats to the United States of America. And those threats are not going to end anytime real soon as long as this virus called radical Islam or ISIS continues. And I think that you ought to review your emergency procedures and the things that you would need to do in case the threat of an attack. And I am saying again, I'm not saying that that attack is going to take place, but I am saying that when our heads of our intelligence say there will be further attacks on the United States of America, we ought to all pay attention. My friends, we now are seeing China. We had a hearing this morning in the Armed Services Committee, China filling in land and acting very aggressively in the South China Sea. Why do we care? 60% of the world's economy goes through that part of the world. And in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin continues to dismember a European country for the first time since the end of World War II. And of course, we have this metastasizing disease, which is really, really serious challenge. And I assure you that now in this flow of refugees, which is a result of our failure in Syria and Iraq, not the cause of it, that there are young men who are being called in by Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, and saying, join the refugee flow, contact us on a secure site when you get there. I know that for a fact because we've already apprehended several that he has sent. So let me just finally say, I'm painting you a fairly bleak picture. And by the way, if you have any idea who's going to be the next president of the United States, please let me know, because I certainly don't. But I know it's going to be huge. And I think we're going to make America great again, right? But anyway, so first of all, let me just end up by saying I am very optimistic about America. I would rather be the United States of America than any nation in the world. If you look at China, some of you have been there. On a bad day, you can't see one block because of the air pollution. They've had a one-child policy for all these years. They have a dramatically aging population, and there's other reasons, including a corrupt government. Some of us may recall some years ago when some of us stood in line for hours to get 5 or 6 gallons of gas because the Arab countries had their hand on the spigot that caused us so much pain and discomfort because of their control of our energy flow. We are now energy independent. We are now energy independent. And I know that people complain about the effects of the lower price of a gallon of gas. I don't. Because every average American citizen is able to spend money on something else besides gasoline. So, second of all, could I say that I am optimistic because I think a lot of manufacturing jobs are being created. I would also point out that we now have the iPhone. And this technology has now changed the world because information is knowledge and knowledge is power. And I am optimistic over time that this flow of information will bring democracy and freedom. Yes, things look bad now, but I have great optimism about the ability of people to communicate. And by the way, could I just finally mention that I'm very proud that I received an award for one of the top 10 tweets of the last 7 years. You wouldn't think that I'm an old geezer like that, but here's how it happened real quick. When we passed Obamacare, there was, and many of you didn't know, there was a tax on tanning beds. And so Snooki, some of you may know of Snooki, a very famous actress on Jersey Shore, I believe is the name of the Snooki sent out a tweet. She said, "I'm so mad at Obama for raising taxes on tanning beds. Senator McCain would never raise taxes on tanning beds because he's so pale." So I tweeted back, "Dear Snooki, I would never raise taxes on tanning beds. P.S. Be sure to wear sunscreen." That's my award-winning accomplishment for the last 10 years. Thank you very much. And now could I respond to any questions or comments that you might have? Thank you.